Well, I mean, it's a character in the film. You know, it had to be shot there. The stories there. I mean, it's we were kind of a little bit under the radar. I think, you know what I mean. In that we weren't in a lot of places for a long amount of time. So, you know, I think before the big crowds got really wind of us, you know, we were kind of somewhere else and somewhere else. But it's a great city to shoot in. You know, the city was wide open. You know. Let Sheldon do his thing, and you know, it was you know, it's my hometown, and so going back to shoot a film, you know, you get a chance to see people you haven't seen in 20, 25, 50 years, or people get to you and say, bring their wives that you didn't know back then and say, tell her, you know, tell her, didn't we go to school together? She never believed me, you know, so that's always fun.
And for me, it's, you know, I once heard reference in connection to The Wire that Baltimore was the forgotten American city. And I never embraced that. For me, Baltimore is the beautiful American city. And it's all about this boy's wonderment and amazement with the world around him as he sees it versus what's actually there. And so everything in me that's a cinema nerd, you know, I really wanted to capture the city widescreen anamorphic. And you know, Baltimore has iconic row housing. The city is horizontal. It's a horizontal city, and I wanted to capture as much of that in the frame as possible. And I think it's really interesting that, you know, the palette of the film is very soft and diffused. Once again, it's always about the child. Usually within this genre of filmmaking, you know, the film, the texture of it is gritty and it's dark. Well, not this world, you know. Yes, there's just crime and there's violence, but at the essence of it, it's about a boy who's on a quest to find his mother.
And for you? For me, not from Baltimore, but I did work there twice. So, and I worked under the best conditions and the not so great conditions. I was in Major League 2 there, so I saw the best of the city. And yes, they knew we were there. So it was fun and challenging all in the same breath. Working on Love was just very unique because we were, you know, under the radar, and all we had were the locations that I never saw when I was working at Major League. We shot at a very popular high school, and during the day, it was a good place to be. It was nice and quiet, and when the lights, you know, came up and the sun went down. It was a pretty sketchy place. I think inside, you know, there were a couple of people who were packing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You know, because I had a couple of friends, you know, those former military, CIA, just, oh, you know, you're not safe here. I said, really? I said, what? What do you see? And then, you know, to her trained eye, you know, she said, that's bad, that's bad. You know, and my buddy, whom I met in Iraq, he was security services.
You know, I grew up a young boy in Baltimore, loving him and wanting to aspire to be who he was. I can quote every one of Fortune's lines in Rudy, and I can only speak from the truth in my heart. And it was a situation where I just always believed that I could be able to write a story and I would be able to get to him. And there's a situation that happens where we're able to meet with Charles. And at this time, you know, I'm out of film school, still struggling to find myself into who I am as a creative. We meet him, and I say this script is based off of a true relationship of me being a young boy in Baltimore and my relationship with one of my uncles. I said the character's name is Vincent, but I had an uncle named Vernon. Well, he looked like he almost saw a ghost when I said that. He said, "What'd you just say?" I said, "Well, it's the fictional story inspired by a relationship I had with my uncle." "What's your uncle's name?" I said, "Well, my uncle's name is Vernon Collins." And he says to me, he says, "Me and your uncle went to reform school together." Oh. Not only did he say that, he said, "We went to prison together as adults. And we were involved in a prison riot and got involved in something that got us more time with Time." He says, "I just helped your uncle with his case to help him. He's still in his pursuit to get out of prison." Okay, I can't make this up. This happens my first moment of ever meeting Charles Dutton in my life. And he says to me at the end of that, he says, "Whatever you need will make it work." and he was the first actor to sign on to the film. There was no money. We made it for $2 and a turkey sandwich. But then also in that meeting, something very important happened outside of just this connection through a family member. Was I showed him my short film in that coffee shop. And he saw the short film. He said, so wow. He says, you know where to put a camera. You know how to tell a story. And so it comes from that true relationship. And then it's this fictional story. And I ultimately, my uncle was investigated by one of the creators of The Wire. His name's Ed Burns. Mm-hmm. He's the person solely responsible for my real-life uncle being in prison. And he said to me, your uncle was a great manipulator. He could use anything or anyone to get what he wanted. So the fact that you're telling me you were a young boy in the car with him leads me to believe if in fact he was transporting drugs and a police officer passed, the two of you wouldn't look suspicious. Like a father and son in a car. Allegedly, these things happen. My uncle killed people, but here's the essence of all of this. And the reason why, to answer your question, was I only got the greatness from my uncle. He was my hero. Mm-hmm. He was stepping in the void to where my father couldn't fill in. He made me the person I am today as a young man. There is crime and there is violence, but it isn't about that. And what's so really compelling about it all is that this young boy survives it. And I always tell people, they say, well, what happens to Woody at the end of the story? And I say, well, he finds himself to California. He goes to USC School of Cinematic Arts. He becomes a filmmaker because, in essence, I am Woody.
I would just like to add two things to that. Concerning his uncle. We started off in the film school at 12 years old together. We grew up together in the penal system, juvenile as well as adults. We had charges together, criminal charges together. In prison, we had inciting a riot charge together, and we got 8 years tacked onto our sentences with the time we were already serving. But let me tell you one thing. His uncle is still a dear friend of mine, and although his uncle played the hand that he was dealt, and this may sound a little harsh and cruel, but his uncle never did anything to anybody who wouldn't have done the same thing to him. In the world that he operated in, the treacherous world that he operated in, he didn't do anything to anybody who wasn't actually looking to do the same thing to him. That doesn't justify anything, but I'm just saying, and that's the world. And he's still my friend, like so many of the other guys in that generation. But getting off that and relating Sheldon's story about how we met, when I first heard he was looking for me, I was avoiding it because I didn't know anything about what the movie was about. So, oh, here's another damn director, young guy out of college, got a script. Man, no. I'm telling my agent, I ain't got time. And then, well, he's from Baltimore. And it's this and the other. So I said, okay, I'm gonna be in LA. You got 10 minutes at a coffee shop. And I went there thinking 10 minutes, and that's it. I'm gonna take 2 sips. I gotta run, man. Good luck to you.
Not knowing that that's one of your best friends.
Not knowing anything. Mm-hmm. Then, but given the story about Vernon is one thing. But when I saw his short, Sergeant Real, it blew me away. I even joke about him. He steal his reel and like some experienced guy. And I said, well, okay, I'm in. And the rest is history.
Yeah.